Hello ladies and gents, let's talk Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler review. So I've already done my non-spoiler review, leave it linked up there somewhere. And I've talked about the post-credit scene as well, done a video on that. I've spoken at length about this film, but obviously we've not touched on actual spoilers. Normally what I do is I do a non-spoiler review and then I give a spoiler section in one singular video. But I think genuinely this movie is worth a non-spoiler review as well. And let me know if you want me to separate these up for bigger sort of tentpole properties. Let me know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But this one, boy howdy. Obviously full spoilers, clues in the title, so I'm not going to warn you again. But this was like the worst kept secret. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in this movie in a really well done way. So I want to discuss briefly the plot again, and then I want to go on some plot points which I think were especially good as part of a spoiler review. I'm not going to get into the each individual part wholeheartedly, but I want to talk about some key parts which I think are big spoilers and how they shape the Marvel Universe moving forward. So the core plot is what you know it to be from the trailers, right? But it's interesting because it all stems from Peter Parker wanting to get into MIT. That's what it all stems from. So we have Peter Parker. The movie meets up at the immediate end of Spider-Man 2. And it's an interesting dynamic to do that. I think it was quite smart to do that because obviously it was left on a cliffhanger. What the hell's going on? Boom, straight away. There you go. Timeline not changed immediately. It does shrink the Marvel Universe a little bit because the timelines are a little bit all over the place, I guess. But nonetheless, interesting. And obviously his identity is revealed. And then there's not any criminal charges put against him. The only one it is the Department of Damage Control. Alright then. What a weird... They're the only ones investigating him. Okay, then fine. Sure, whatever. I thought that was interesting, but obviously they don't find out anything and he goes off scot-free. Interestingly, they start investigating Happy Hogan because he stole some equipment. I thought that was a pretty big surprise. Why would Happy Hogan be stealing equipment from Stark Industries? You wouldn't think he'd need to steal equipment. He could just take it. But apparently, no. He has stolen equipment and then he's under investigation. Matt Murdock. Yeah, that's right. Charlie Cox. Matt Murdock is in this film. He is the lawyer for Peter Parker, Spider-Man. He sits down. He advises that Happy Hogan needs a good lawyer. And interestingly, because they're sat there at the dinner table, someone throws a rock through the open window, and Matt Murdock grabs it, catches it, and Spider-Man is like, how did you do that? Obviously, because what the hell? And he's like, I'm a good lawyer. I thought that was really good fun, but obviously that sets up Daredevil in the Marvel Universe, which reiterates some comments made by Kevin Feige recently where he sits there and goes, yeah, Charlie Cox is the man for playing Daredevil in the Marvel Universe moving forwards. Let's see how it goes. He looks exactly the same. I don't see much difference. He looks like the Netflix version. So I'll be intrigued to see whether they change any of the costuming and things like that, because I would have thought due to the licenses they would have had to. But good Easter egg, I mean, not even an Easter egg, just nice to have him there. It was good, nice, cool. But because obviously, and he even says, but you've still got one more hurdle to go through, Peter Parker, the court of public opinion. And the court of public opinion pretty much goes against Peter Parker on this matter. MIT refuses entry to Peter Parker, as well as MJ, as well as Ned. So, not good, right? Not good at all. And that sets in the wheels in motion for the events that unfold in the film. He goes to Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, who is not the Sorcerer Supreme. I was going to say BD Wong, but it's not. But it is Wong, the character, is now the Sorcerer Supreme. And it's because of a technicality, because apparently of the blip, he was gone. So if he'd stayed there, he would have become the Sorcerer Supreme, which I think is a bit cheap, a bit of a cheap shot on Doctor Strange. They've kind of bitched out there. I think that's a shame. I don't really understand the reasoning for it. Maybe it's something in the comics. I don't know. But whatever. It's there. He's not the Sorcerer Supreme. Peter Parker convinces him to do this spell. It's the same spell from the trailer that he keeps changing. And he contains the spell, but obviously individuals come through who know who Peter Parker is, aka Spider-Man, and that sets up the villains. There are no additional villains. There's no Sinister Six, which I think was a big letdown. And it's interesting because the whole thing is set in motion because he wants MIT to forget that he's, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, so his friends can go to university. Sure. I think it's funny, but, it's very kid-like mentality. So that was good. I enjoyed that. And then, obviously, the movie progresses kind of as you'd expect. But what happens, which is really quite sad, is Aunt May convinces Peter to try and help the villains instead. Help them because they got pulled through immediately before they were going to die. Literally, just as they were going to die, everyone gets pulled through. Because, I don't know, maybe that's instantly when they found out. I don't understand fully why, but whatever. That's when they get pulled through. And so Aunt May convinces Peter to help them, cure them, whatever, rather than just kill them, send them back to die. And he starts helping them. He helps Dr. Ock, Dr. Otto Octavius, completely cures him, new chip. He's done. He's back. Alfred Molina is great in this. And obviously the Goblin doesn't want to go back to normal. He doesn't want the Goblin. Goblin doesn't want his Goblin personality to be destroyed. And he goes on a rampage. And then obviously Electro joins him. Sandman as well. And the Lizard. But this rampage kills Aunt May. Aunt May's dead now. In actually really quite a sad way. Which gave Tom Holland the opportunity to really show range, and there was a lot of range he showed, and it was quite a gut-wrenching moment, quite sad. And she dies in the same way that the Green Goblin dies. The Goblin glider takes her out. One of the spikes through her, and he doesn't realise it at first. She turns to him and says, and again, it sounds quite cheesy, but it was done really well, executed really well. Turns to him and says, with great power, Peter, comes great responsibility. But there's a slight change on the phrasing. And then she dies. And it's a really sad moment. And it's genuinely a sad moment. And from there, Peter's left crying in tears. And there's some beautiful cinematography in there. So after that moment, he's there in tears, looking at this massive billboard of J. Jonah Jameson talking shit about him, saying he's this massive villain, he's this arsehole. And the framing's actually really good. Like, the framing's fantastic. And it's sad, and it just adds to the whole weight of the situation. And you really feel for him. And then you cut back to MJ and Ned, who have the box. This box thing, which you see in the trailers, is a mechanism by which to cancel out the spell and send everyone back to their deaths. MJ had agreed to press the button to finish the spell if things go wrong, to send the villains back and just resolve the situation. But obviously they see, they know what's going on, and MJ goes to do it, and Ned, because Doctor Strange has been trapped in a mirror realm, he's basically relegated in this movie. Spider-Man manages to trap Doctor Strange in the mirror realm, and he takes his rings. And Ned manages to do these portals. He's messing his arms around and he goes, I really wish we could see Peter Parker. And a ring opens up and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker runs through. And it was an epic moment. It was really well done. And then they do it again. And then Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man comes through. And they haven't de-aged Tobey Maguire. He looks the same, as he does now, like in real life, old. But you can see that they both really enjoy being back in the parts, or they seem to enjoy being back in the parts. They even hang a lantern on the fact that, Andrew Garfield is considered the worst Spider-Man by, the general populace. They're like, oh yeah, you're Spider-Man 3. Tobey Maguire's like, no, you're amazing. You're amazing to Andrew Garfield. There's these funny little quips running through, which I think is quite funny. Quite well done. But yeah, they come through the portals. They obviously came because they know who Peter Parker is, because they are Peter Parker, Spider-Man. They come through, and then obviously it sets off. They go looking for, Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And it's really, really well done. All of that is actually really, really well done. Really, really nicely done. But it's sad. They all have their moment to sort of impart their wisdom onto Tom Holland's Peter Parker, to say, look, my Uncle Ben died. My Uncle Ben died. Yeah, I lost MJ. I lost this. Gwen. Blah, blah, blah. All these kind of things. And I killed the Goblin. I did this. You can't live with it, etc. And it's that you feel a sense of closure with these things. It's not just a Member Berries moment. Like it genuinely serves a purpose. It shapes and crafts the character of Tom Holland's Spider-Man into a better individual moving forwards, and it works really, really, really well. And then from there, obviously they do their big final fight, and that's all fine, whatever. And then Tobey Maguire gets stabbed at the end by the Goblin, which I think is like some sort of Just Desserts moment. You're like, oh yeah, you got stabbed now, mate. Like, similar sort of moment to what happened before with Goblin being killed via, being impaled and things. And that's it. And that's really the main points that I wanted to cover, to be fair. Obviously, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire coming back. Good to see them in their suits. Just good to see them, being in the roles again. There's commentary about the fact that Tobey Maguire has organic web shooters and things like this, and it all works very, very well. Massive, massive recommendation from me. It's not just like the greatest hits. It genuinely works. I think you have to like Tom Holland's Spider-Man though, because he's the central character. And if you don't, you're probably not going to like anything. And I do think it's sad. So sorry, moving forwards. Obviously, to get out of the entire situation, the ending part, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, asks Doctor Strange to make everyone forget who Peter Parker is. Just to forget that he even existed. And obviously MJ forgets, Ned forgets, the Avengers, everyone forgets. And so now he's this nobody roaming around, doing his thing. And it's genuinely quite sad, because he turns to MJ. MJ turns to him and goes, I love you. And he goes to set back, and she goes, no, tell me when you come and find me. Make me remember. And he does go and find her, but he doesn't make her remember, because he sees that she's got the cut on her head with a plaster, and he doesn't want to put her in harm's way again. And I thought that was quite well done, actually. I genuinely really like this film. I had a really good time with it. Strong recommendation from me. So, yeah, what happens moving forwards? Be intriguing to tell. I will say one thing. In the credits, there was like a special grateful acknowledgement to Avi Arad, the man whose mind, made all of this work, and put it on the screen, etc. And I'm like, fucking Avi Arad, shut up, mate. He's just stop telling everyone to suck your dick. Like, just ridiculous. That guy jerks himself off. Absolutely ridiculous. Avi Arad, if you don't know, is the reason why Venom's PG, just as a heads up, and won't ever be rated R. Whatever. Anyway, let me know what you think down below if you've seen it. What did you think of those moments that I talked about? If you haven't seen it, what do you think of the revelations, I guess? Cheers, guys. Take care.